Good morning again, my beloved friends. This is Bill. We had an emergency phone call I had to take. So we've done that, taken care of now. We're back. So welcome. Shabbat Shalom and Shema. Israel. Devarim. Let's talk about what that might mean. We've talked about the fact that Moshe has 36 days, a mere 36 days in which to live. 5 weeks and a day, and then he will be gathered to his fathers, and everything that he began to do, all he has done to found the nation of Bnei Israel, the holy nation, the kingdom of priests, the Am Segillah of the creator of the universe, the model by which the rest of the world is to learn to live according to the plan, the strategies, and the ways of the Holy One, the creator of the universe. That he now has to leave that in the hands of other people and other time. He must leave that totally in the hands of the creator of the universe and the rest of his people, those who will come after. So what will he choose to do? What will he choose to say? How will he communicate the things that he needs to communicate or feels that he must communicate? How will he inspire and empower and yet warn the nation that comes after him, the people that come, even our generation and the generation that will come after us? How will he admonish? How will he encourage? How will he inspire? How will he empower the world before his 36 days are over? That's the book we call Devarim, that the Western world loves to call Deuteronomy. Sometimes even the Hebrew people call it the second giving, Shinei Torah, the second giving, the recitation or the repetition of the Holy One's words. But it is about Devarim. Let's talk about that, though. Let's talk about the fact that this Devarim, we're going to find out more about why. But Devarim, which he's going to release, which Moshe is going to release, are not like the rest of the things he's taught us. We'll discuss that in moments to come. But Moshe knows that his 120-year time span is expiring, and he has 5 weeks and a day of mortal life left. Does not mean he will die in the sense the world thinks of it. It means that his mortal body will decay, and he will no longer be visible. He will reach the stage of disappearance of the body, but his spirit will remain. He knows that, but most people in this world don't. Moshe's 120 years old. What a blessing that has been. He knows it is time, though, now for him to give his parting words and his final charge to the nation that he was tasked at least building the foundation for back at Mount Horeb. So it is time for Moshe to wizen and to become the graybeard and the wise one, the elder statesman, the rabbi. It's time to him to do certain things, to put the past in perspective. Most of our youth, most of our younger adulthood, and most of our middle years are spent living almost totally in the present. We live for the present. We live for how we feel. We live for how things affect us or how we feel they're going to affect our family or our business or our finances or our emotions. We live in the future, in the present. But as we begin to grow a little older, as the gray hairs begin to come, as the perspective begins to come, we begin to understand that we don't just live in the present. We need to have the past in perspective. We need to have a good perspective, a wise perspective on what has happened in the past, both before our lifetimes and in our lifetimes. Why it happened and what are the implications of it. Also to understand the present and live fully in the present, but yet also the third thing, to begin to add to the focus on the past in perspective and the present in context, is to live with a view of the future. It is inspired vision for what could be, what will be, what must be, and what must not be. These are the things of wisdom that are coming forth. The book of Devarim, the fifth book of the Torah, is a book of wisdom. It's a book of inspiration. It's a book of joy and yet pain. I call it poignancy, urgency, agony, ecstasy. All these four things are going to be spelled out for you in Moshe's words. This is he is providing for us a stirring rendition, a stirring charge that will teach us what we need to do and warn us of what we need not to do in the future. His discourses on the plain. This is about 4 different discourses you'll see, and some narratives in between. But this is a very powerful, unique book. But the one that was, of course, quoted by Messiah more than any other because of its poignancy, its urgency, its agony, its ecstasy, and its reality. Moshe's discourses on the plain were told when they began. The first day of the new moon of Shabbat, the 11th month of the year, of the year beginning with Nisan. The first day of Shabbat in the 40th year after the Exodus. So we are now poised on the brink of Mount Nebo in the plain of Moab, overlooking the Jordan River. We are finally where we can taste and smell and see the promised land. We can see Gilgal, the plain underlying, or on the other side of the Jordan. We can see Jericho, the city, the walled city just beyond Gilgal. We can see even into Shechem and the hillsides, at least the hazy hillsides around Shechem, and all the other different areas we see vaguely through a mist, through a fog. But we are on the brink. We are on the precipice of entering the promised land. The plan is about to take another step to be the very grand plan of the creator of the universe, to redeem humanity as a species, bloodline by bloodline, household by household, individual by individual, as many as will come, and the plan to restore creation to its original intended state, of beauty, of fruitfulness, of shalom, and of harmonious interaction of all its component parts and its species. This is about to come into fruition in the next phase. The next phase will be when we enter the land and begin to become the model and present to the world a more excellent way of how to live life upon earth than the nations could possibly have understood, especially in light of the corruption and the violence and the perversions that have entered since the time of Noah, the days of Noah, and even after the flood. So one Shabbat in the year of the Exodus, 40th year after the Exodus. Now you understand that when I say 36 days to live, it's because that, according to tradition at least, Moshe died on the 7th day of Adar, the next month. So it's about 36 days before he passes away. And there will be 30 days of mourning after he passes away. That will take us to the 6th day of Nisan, the first month, or Aviv, and then the Jordan crossing will take place on the 10th day of that month. So we're only a couple months away, a couple moon cycles away from entering the land. But that will be under Yehoshua, not under Moshe. So we have Moshe's final words, his parting charge, his delicate, poignant, urgent, agony-filled, but yet ecstasy-filled soliloquy, a final set of debriefings. And he's going to change the whole format of Torah for this particular section, for this particular part of the scroll. The change will be, first of all, from the sterile, impersonal, third-person literary style of a scribe, who's just writing down what he was told to write down, without him expressing his own emotions about it, without putting his own interjections into it. Just the facts, man. That's what the first 4 books have been. Just the facts. Just the details as they were dictated to him. He's going to change from that style, from the sterile, impersonal, third-person literary style to the poignant, moving, first-person literary style. These are going to be Moshe's words. The others have been sort of centered around the words of the creator of the universe and the narratives putting those words in context. This is going to be Moshe pouring out his heart, his soul, and explaining his experiences in such a way that he will be able to communicate with moving power his plan, his ideas, or his vision for us. That vision that was planted in his mind long ago at Mount Sinai. Now, I want to remind you about something in regard to this change in style, from the sterile, impersonal, third-person style to the poignant, moving, first-person literary style. Remember what Yeshua said, at least in a parable form. He said, if they do not Shema Moshe, he's talking actually through the words, through the mouth of Abraham in this parable. Abraham, Father Abraham is saying to the rich man who is now crying out to send someone back from the dead, like Lazarus, to speak to his brothers. And Abraham said, oh, if they do not Shema, if they do not listen and hear and obey Moshe and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded though one rise from the dead. That's from Luke chapter 16, verse 31. The Master put this poignancy, this urgency, this agony and this ecstasy language like Moshe had done. This is, if they do not listen, and he didn't say if they do not listen to and obey the Torah. You know, he's made it personal. If they do not Shema Moshe, the literary, first person, moving, poignant, urgent, the things that Moshe poured out as the prototypical human being, now at this particular stage, being the mouthpiece of the creator of the universe. If they don't do that, then they won't be persuaded from miracles, and they won't be persuaded by signs and wonders, and they won't be persuaded even by someone coming back from the dead. Well, remember this. If we're going to enter into this study of this book, the meditations upon this book, if we're going to take the lessons of this book right, we need to understand it is the poignant, first-person, moving cry of the heart of Moshe. And we need to listen to this very carefully. The second change that's coming, is the change from the story format based upon interventions of the Holy One on the earth and putting those in the context of stories, which has been the format that we followed the first 4 books, to another format. This format is going to be actually like a suzerain vassal covenant document format. This is going to become, I don't have time to discuss with you, nor would I spend your time this morning on this Sabbath going through what a suzerain vassal covenant document is. Many of them are found in archaeology and have been found over the course of the years, from way before the time of the Exodus. And so I don't want to burden you with those things, but this is going to have a substance and a binding format to it. This is going to be a covenant, not just a bunch of stories. And the third change that we're going to experience as we read the book of Deuteronomy, as opposed to the first 4 books of Torah, is that we're going to see a dramatic shift in the speaker. From direct quotation and scribing, being a sort of one who receives narration and just writes it down, to prophetic exhortation with a very personal, poignant touch. We're going to change the phraseology, the formulas of divine speech. There will be some divine speech that's referenced in Deuteronomy. But instead of saying, as he's been for the past 4 books, Daber Adonai el Moshe lemor, and the Holy One spoke Daber to Adonai. Adonai spoke to Moshe lemor, and he said, we're going to throw you from that formula, which has been so common, so many times repeated, and sort of our key to know, to perk up your ears, because the creator of the universe is about to speak. The format's going to change now. In this book, it's going to start off with Ere HaDevarim. These are the words, Asher Daber Moshe, that Moshe spoke. Oh, it's not what the Holy One's speaking that is the main focus anymore. It's what Moshe is saying about what he spoke. And he said, in the last, another way we'll see it is, Adonai Eloheinu Dabar Elenu, and the Holy One spoke to you, to us, and said. And that's the way it's going to be. It's very personal from this point forward. And the shift of the emphasis of the subject matter of the book, away from the Torah of the wilderness journey, the narratives, the tales, the stories, the poignant stories of the wilderness journey will be mentioned only briefly, and then we'll get on to the real point of the book, and the real shift in emphasis will be from the trials of the wilderness journey and lessons that we learned there to the details of our mission, of our purpose, the reason we're born, the reason we're put on earth at such a time as this, our mission vis-a-vis the land of Israel, our mission vis-a-vis the nations around us and in the world and in the generations to come, and vis-a-vis the greater creation ecosystem that the Holy One is overseeing and managing at all times. This is the shift in emphasis. Finally, the form of the communication itself will change. From what we've been experiencing, we've been receiving Moshe getting mitzvot, I like to call that commandments in the English language, although it's more of if you will join me in covenant, this is what we'll do. Mitzvot, kukot, which are just, you need to do this. I don't need to tell you why. You need to do it because you love me. Then there's the mishpatim Moshe has been speaking, which is this is what I would do if I was person and present. This is the wise way of going forward-looking changes, and making decisions based upon experiences that you've got now. And then we move to that idut, which are just testimonies, the stories of the patriarchs, the stories of how life works its way in human experience, how the divine he hides in life experiences, and yet guides and directs us through the edut. Well, he's going to change from all those mitzvot, hukot, mishpatim, edut, ways of communication to Devarim. Devarim, oh, what a beautiful word. I hope that the word begins to just power over you. Devarim is so different than mitzvot and hukot and mishpatim and edut, all of which are beautiful in their way. But Devarim are the most special of all. Devarim are the empowering, directing, inspiring, identity defining and redefining, character shaping words. I want you to think of another word that's very similar, dibrot, which is the feminine form of Devarim. Devarim is a plural masculine. Dibrot is the plural feminine. Do you remember where we've heard dibrot before? Dibrot were the 10 words that were spoken by the Holy One over all Israel and all the mixed multitude of the nations who had gathered at Mount Sinai. The dibrot were not commandments. They were not mitzvot. They're not called mitzvot. I know the English language calls them the 10 commandments. That's not what they are. They're the 10 dibrot, the aseret ha-dibrot. And dibrot, devarim, same thing, just different gender specifications in the language. The dibrot and the devarim are identity shaping. He didn't command you not to commit adultery. He didn't command you not to kill. He defined your personality with his words. He shaped you like Moshe would want you to do. Like Adam was shaped by the hands of the Holy One out of the dirt and then spoke the words were spoken over him. He's shaping your character, shaping your identity, shaping your mission and your purpose on earth through these words. This is what Devarim does. And there are basically 16 varieties of divinely inspired speech or divine speech. Beloved, I don't have time to go through the 16 with you. Just understand that you need to learn to understand what the Holy One is saying, how he has chosen to say it, what means and methodology, what toolkit out of his toolkit he is using, because that will determine how fine a touch you need to have in responding to it. It's kind of like you have many tools in a carpenter's toolbox for different situations. So the Holy One has many tools in his verbal toolkit as to how he can speak and how he can empower his human beings to speak. So we get to Devarim as identity defining, redefining, character and purpose shaping and reshaping words of impartation. They will change us. They will empower us. They will awaken our spirits, our nishmat haim, our neshama, our breath of life from the whole Creator himself, the eternal spirit within us, and they will activate us in the mission and the purpose. That's the Devarim. Welcome to the Master's Program of Communication in the Kingdom of Heaven. But Moshe is speaking Devarim. That's what he's going to do throughout this whole book of Deuteronomy, or Devarim. But do you remember when we first met Moshe? Not as a baby in the little ark that was made for him, the teva that was made for him to ride in, or not that. I'm talking about when we were at Mount Horeb. At Mount Horeb, the Creator of the universe appears to him in a burning bush. This was 80 years ago. 40 years ago. 40, yeah. Near the end of the burning bush encounter, Moshe presented the Holy One's stunning call upon his life. He described for us this way. He said, Adonai, he described his response to the call, and the response was, Adonai lo ish devarim, Holy One. Katekodesh Baraku Adonai al ish lo ish Devarim. I am not a man of Devarim. I don't have Devarim in me. I don't have the capacity to speak these empowering, destiny shaping, destiny redefining, identity instilling words. I am not a man of Devarim. This is the word they use. Adonai lo ish Devarim. And then he says, I have a heavy mouth and a heavy tongue. That's what he said back then. So what has changed over the past 40 years? What has happened over the past decades? What has caused this man of a heavy mouth and a heavy tongue to change and become what he said he was not, an Ish Devarim? It was the Devarim of the Holy One that changed a man of Ish Devarim, lo Ish Devarim, to a man of Ish Devarim. All right. The Devarim portal is now about to open. We are about to start receiving these destiny reshaping, destiny and identity defining words from the creator of the universe. They're going to be much like Yehi Or, light be, but they're spoken into our lives, human lives, your life, the lives of your children that are not even born yet, or grandchildren, or great-grandchildren that have not even been born yet, or been conceived yet. He is speaking Devarim, and it's like a portal is open in heaven, and out of that portal comes energy, divine wisdom, clarity of identity, purpose, destiny, mission, and then the empowerments that flow with it to make those things take place. Well, that's where we are. The noun Devarim, or the noun Devar, which is the singular form, Devarim is the plural form. They both come from the Hebrew word Devar, a verb that appears to have been borrowed from the Egyptian world of beekeeping and honey producing. The Egyptians were well known for producing hives and bees and cultivating bees. Literally, therefore, Debar, pluralizing it, Devarim, means to set and keep a hive in place, in order. Equip it to thrive. Make it productive and make it nurturing of life and health and well-being, and to do so across many generations. That's the Debar, and that's what's about to happen to us as we read this book, generations after generations after generations after generations, all the way to you and me and beyond. These words that we read redefine and shape us. They set us in order. They set us in order, and we make us into the hive of the Holy One that holds the honey for the world. The verb devar means to set things in a row for functionality, to make things work, not to cure the defect, to be the tikkun olam, to arrange the components in their proper order and sequence, to make them coordinate and communicate with each other, to be harmonious with the plan of the Holy One. That's what Devarim mean, to put things in their most advantageous, efficacious place and sequence. Do you want the creator of the universe to do that in your life? We talk about not having our ducks in a row and then not even knowing where our ducks are. Can we let the Holy One be the one to decide where your ducks are, where they belong, and what is not a duck, and what does not need to be in your life, what does not be part of your lifestyle and your life impact? Now we can understand Devarim are like a building project, of starting at ground level with foundational issues, building upon that one thing at a time, all designed to stand forever. Like an architect's blueprint actually put into operation. A play that comes off of the page and onto the stage. A dance that goes from the choreography papers to the actual movement upon the floor. A symphony that goes from the music, the lines, the staffs, to actual sound, harmony, the violins, the strings, the percussion, the wind instruments, and all of it flowing together in this beautiful harmony and this beautiful message. That's what Devarim are about. Ah, so as we enter into this season of Devarim, as we begin to release our ideas about what needs to happen and who's to blame for what has happened, as we release our perspective on the past and our focus on the present and our ideas about the future and fear about the future to the Holy One, and let His Devarim change us, then these are our essential set of givens. We need to stop what we're doing. Listen to me, dear ones, my beloved friends. And let us remember what our givens are as we start this new adventure. There are certain things that are unchangeable, and we would learn these things in the course of our studies in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. And these things will stay true throughout the book of Deuteronomy and beyond. Number one, given number one. Do you know this? The heavens and the earth were created by Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, bless His holy name, with a grand plan and agenda in mind. They're not haphazard. It didn't just flow together, fall together, or evolve. The heavens and the earth were created by the Holy One, and He did it, His creation, with a grand plan and agenda in mind. That's given number one. All things are working together for good for those who love the Holy One and are called according to His purpose. He who comes to Him must believe, understand, trust that He is, but not just that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. That He has a plan and an agenda, and it's good. The second given that we need to start the book of Deuteronomy and any other endeavor with is that the Abrahamic covenant is in place and it stands firm. The Abrahamic covenant is in place and it stands firm. The ways in which the Creator has designed to bless every family on the face of the earth through a special people who models His righteousness and His ways and teaches their children and their household after them to follow the ways of the Holy One, to do righteousness and justice. The Abrahamic covenant is in place and stands firm. It stands firm in you. It's living and active in you. It will be living and active in the world throughout your generations and the generations to come. The Abrahamic covenant is in place and stands firm and is the keystone of the grand plan and agenda. It is our anchor in this world. What we hold fast to whenever things around us seem to be going crazy and the seas are raging and the nations are raging. That's the second giving. First given, the heavens and the earth were created by the Holy One with a grand plan in mind. Second given, the Abrahamic covenant is in place, stands firm, and forms the keystone of the grand plan and agenda. The third given that we enter the book of Deuteronomy with and face life with is that the era of Egyptian bondage, and you could also broaden that to all the times of the Gentiles, the times when the nations seem to be in charge, those times will give way, are giving way to the era of kingdom influence, to seasons of refreshing through and on earth as in heaven, portal where men become the vessels, human beings become the vessels, the portals themselves, which transmit heavenly things to earthly existence. The fourth given is that the Holy One's messenger for the transition period to get us to the portal opening is Moshe. There will be other messengers. There will be perhaps even a higher messenger in Yeshua, our rabbi. But Moses was the first. Moshe was the first of the transition messengers. Abraham may have foregone that, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Yosef, but Moshe is the one who has the biggest part to play. His tools of communicating this, of transitioning us, are Torah and the Devarim, and the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the picture of where heaven touches earth and how heaven impacts and interacts with earth, and how human beings interact with heaven. And the fifth given is that Moshe's time for service is drawing to or has reached a close. We no longer have Moshe with us, but we have his Devarim. All right, those are our givens. So with that, let's do our call to worship. May the wafting of the Hebrew language go over you. May you sing with me if you know this song from in your mind and your heart. or may if you just listen and receive the awakening of the sounds and the melodies of the Baruch. Baruch et Adonai Amborak. Baruch Adonai Amborak Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bakar banu mikol ha'amin V'natan lanu et Toratu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Yes, yes, can. Now open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah. For we are but strangers in the earth, so do not hide your commandments or your Devarim from us. At the end of Sefer Bamidbar, the fourth book, in chapter 36 of Numbers, verse 13, we read these words, Ele ha-mitzvot ve'ha-mishpatim. These are the instructions, the joinder, and the decrees of wisdom. Asher tziva Adonai b'yad Moshe, that the Holy One put in Moshe's hand. So we've been doing the scribing thing. Et b'nei Israel, for the children of Israel. Be'arvot Moab, on Moab's plain or plateau, al Yarden, Jericho, across the Jordan from Jericho. Those were the mitzvot and the mishpatim. That was then. This is now. These will be something else besides the mishpatim and the mitzvot. These will be the Devarim. So, if we get to this week, we're going to open the lines as this way. From mitzvot, to this words. I'll read it in English, I'll read it in Hebrew, and then I'll follow along for your mind's sake with the English language. Ele Devarim. These are the Devarim, the substantive things, the weight-carrying, glory-carrying words. Ele Devarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael. These are the substantive, weighty things that Moshe spoke unto all Israel. Be'ever HaYordan, B'midbar Ba'arva, on the Transjordan wilderness plain. Mol Suf, Ben Paran, opposite Suf, or the Sea of Reeds, coming out of Paran, which was the land of Ishmael and Hagar. Uben Tofel, and through the area of tastelessness, the veneer of uselessness, wastedness, and folly. V'devan, to the whitewashing and the cleansing and the appearing of things that are not as they are, though they are not. V'hatzerot, to the place where Miriam's was being stricken by leprosy and having 7 days out from us. Di Zahav, and Di Zahav. Di, or die, in Hebrew is a word which means stop, enough. It's used if you're in a restaurant and the waiter is pouring a drink into your cup. No, stop, enough. Die, die. It's used whenever you just die. You've had enough of whatever it is. Well, di zahav, see, di zahav. What? What's zahav? Zahav is gold. Not enough with the gold. Enough gold. Oh, now that's interesting. The di zahav. Now this is, when do we have enough gold? We had more than enough gold when we did this golden calf. But when we really said die zahav, that was whenever the hearts, the crying hearts, the passionate hearts, we brought forth all the gold, the silver, the bronze, and we brought so much to make the tabernacle, to build this portal of heaven on earth, where the Holy One could communicate with mankind, and mankind could communicate and visit with him on the earth. When that happened, the people in charge said, "Die, Zahab, no more, enough gold. We've got enough." I hope you hear the passion, the poignancy, the urgency, the ecstasy, And yet the agony in these things. Moshe is dropping word bombs. It isn't so much about you understanding intellectually, what does these things mean? These words are designed to tell you this is part of who you are. You're for the good, for the bad, for the weakness, for the strength. These are parts of who you are. So Moshe goes on. Echad Asar Yom Mechoreb Derech HaSeir. It is 11 days from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. Ad Kadesh Barnea. It is 11 days from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. And then he goes on to say, Vayehi be'arba'im shana be'ashtei asar. It came to pass in the 40th year in the 11th month. He said very, very gentle the way he says this. But says, what should have taken 11 days? Here we are in the 40th year in the 11th month. So you see how Moshe has chosen to use his last 36 days. He will point out the obvious, but he will let us draw our own conclusions without a lot of opinionation and without a lot of open, angry rebuke or judgment in this process. So he says, it's 11 days from Horeb by way of Mount Seir, Ad Kadesh Barnea, to Kadesh Barnea, and then it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the moon cycle, Diber Moshe al Bnei Yisrael. Moshe spoke Devarim. Diber Moshe al Bnei Yisrael, to Bnei Yisrael. Kekol asher ziva Adonai oto Elohim. According to all that the Holy One had charged him regarding them. He goes on. Listen carefully to the Hebrew and maybe let your mind begin to be awakened by the English. Akare hakoto et Sichon melech ha'emari. And after he had defeated Sichon, the warlord, king of the Emori, Asher Yoshev beHeshbon, who dwelt in Heshbon, the place of calculating, the ivory tower world, and the Et Og melech haBashan, and he also defeated Og, the warlord king of Bashan, Asher Yoshev be'Ashtarot be'Edrei, who dwelt in the land of Ashtaroth, of idols, and in Edrei. And Og was, of course, a giant, one of the giants of the land that we were afraid of back at Kadesh Barnea. He didn't mention that here was the giant, and we were going to see him. We had seen him fall before our eyes. And he goes on, Be'ever HaYarden be'Eretz Moab, on the other side of the Jordan, in the land of Moab. Ho'il Moshe be'er. Here Moshe became a well. Here Moshe became a wellspring, pouring forth Et HaTorah Hazot Lemor, his Torah, teaching, saying, and then we get into what he's saying. He's going to say, Adonai Eloheinu deber Eleinu bechoreb, the Holy One, our God, spoke to us in Horeb. Oh, we're going back in time. We're taking the DeLorean of ancient days, and we're going back in time to this inspired perspective of Moshe, back to Horeb. He doesn't call it Sinai. Why does he not call it Sinai? He calls it Horeb. Because, you see, Horeb was more precious and poignant to him. It was the place he first met the creator of the universe. Horeb means dryness. He tells us a story. We were dry. We were so full of dryness at that particular stage. The Holy One, our God, spoke to us at dryness place, at Horeb, at the place of the burning bush. Lemor rav lachem shevet bechar. Enough, too much of you sitting around this mountain. Rav Lachem, he uses a phrase there that we should know. It's again a key phrase. It's a Devarim phrase. The idea is it's supposed to inspire, to stir up remembrances and emotions in us. It's supposed to tie us to our past. Rav Lachem, that was the words that Korach used, the phrase that Korach used to frame his narrative of rebellion against Moshe and Aaron. Oh, and it was also the words that were used by Moshe back to Korach. Said, no, Rav Lachem, you have taken too much upon yourself. So he says, Rav Lakim, this is the words of the Holy One that Moshe is now reciting. He is also giving a few of these direct quotes. He says, Rav Lakim Shevet Bahar Hazeh, the Holy One said. With tongue in cheek almost, you can hear the Holy One saying, Rav Lakim. Remember that? Enough of you sitting at this mountain. Penul Usul, face forward and lift yourselves up. Lachem Uvo, and go toward Har HaEmery, the mountain of the Emorites. That's Nebo, and the scaling hill of Pisgah that overlook the Jordan River. Go to that place. Be'el Hakol Shakenu It Va'arava Bahar, and all the neighboring places on the high plains and plateau. Uvashpela Va Negev Uv Kov Beyam, and to the hill and vale, and to the Negev, the south area of the desert, and to the shore of the sea. Open up, expand your horizons, as the Holy One said, and begin to go toward your destiny, go toward what you're really put on earth to do. Set forth and take your revelation into the world. And then he continued. This is again continuation of the Holy One's initial speech that Moshe is reciting, this destiny, purpose-shaping kind of information. He says, Eretz HaKena'ani v'Halavanan, and the land of the Canaanite and the Lebanon. Ad HaNahar, unto the great river. Hagadol Nahar Parat, the great river Euphrates. Behold. Now, the Holy One is giving us, through Moshe's Devarim, the Holy One is opening up to us vision. He says, behold. Mira in Spanish, and this idea of open your eyes, but see more than what's right in front of them. See the greater picture. Re'eh. And what is the re'eh? Re'eh this. Behold this. Mira this. Natati lifnechem et ha'aretz. I am giving and entrusting to you, your faces, the land. Bo'u. Go in. Urshu, and possess et ha'aretz. Go in, go up, and possess the land of the Holy One. Asher Nishba Adonai. Levo Apotekum, to your fathers, to your patriarchs. And this is all about perspective on the past and the covenant holding firm. Asher Nishba Adonai le Apotekum le Avram le Yitzchak al Yaakov. And so that he gave to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. The connection is firm. You are just another continuation of the seed. And he says, goes on, Latet lachem ulzaram akarakim, to give to them and to their seed after them. We are that seed. We are the beneficiaries of that gift. But it's not a gift as the world thinks of a gift. You take it, and if you like it, you keep it. Otherwise, you re-gift it. No, this gift is a stewardship entrustment. We are given this precious gift to steward and maintain. We're given it to use in the greater kingdom plan, the land of Israel, become the beachhead from which the Mishkan imperative begins to go forth into the world. Well, that is the beginning of the book of Devarim. That is how it starts. He reminds us who we are, why we're here, what our identity really is, what the events of our history were really all about. And he's going to tell us over the course of the next multiple chapters, all through this book, he's going to lay out for us, Moshe, through his Devarim, through his power-packed words that stir identity and shape destiny in us. He's going to tell us what the future can be, what the future should be, what our future must be, and what must not be a part of our future. Moshe can see things. He sees our flaws. He knows because he is man himself. He understands our flaws. He's seen how we respond to situations. He knows the triggers. He knows the wounds and the traumas and the post-traumatic stress, the events that go on. The Holy One knows, beloved. He knows who you are. He knows the challenges you face. You are the one he has chosen. We are the people he has chosen, despite our flaws, despite our triggers, despite our buttons, despite all the things that have happened to us, despite our short-sightedness and inability to see beyond our own noses or what's in our best interest as we see it at the moment. Beyond ethnicity, beyond culture, beyond gender, beyond philosophy, beyond ideology, beyond nationality. He sees that we are capable of so much more. And he will spell out for us the vision, the beautiful, beautiful vision of the more excellent way that people can model what humankind as a species is supposed to do to make this ecosystem we live in, the Eden that it was designed to be. What we have been, where we have been, what we have done thus far is only preparation for where we are going. There's a sense of poignancy, passion, fire in the Devarim. There's a sense of agony over knowing the challenges we face and the difficulties. And Moshe can see the future from his perch up there now in the heavenlies as he's receiving this Devarim. He can see the future, and he knows there will be pain, and he knows there will be mistakes made, and he knows there will be consequences of those mistakes. But he also knows and holds on to this, that when this all said and done, the covenant will still hold firm. The Abrahamic covenant will still be our anchor. And every plan the Holy One has for mankind through us or through his words will become fruition upon this earth. The world will not end the way the media thinks it will, the way the scientists decree it will, the way the ideologues insist it will. The world will conclude in glorious style. The Messianic kingdom will come, and we will indeed see Israel functioning as it was designed to function, and we functioning that way in the midst of it. Well, beloved, I hope you've been awakened to the joy and the mystery of the book known as Devarim and the Parsha known as Devarim as well. I will leave you now. I will go next door to my gathering with my friends at Shabbat, and we'll discuss these wonderful things in more detail. I pray you will have a place to go and do that yourself. Or maybe perhaps you can just sit with your own Torah scroll or your own Bible, your own book of Deuteronomy, and do this yourself. This is a Shabbat called Shabbat Chazon, the Sabbath of vision, prophetic vision. Get a vision for your life. Get a vision for your world. Get a vision for your future and your children's future forever. Shabbat Shalom. I'll see you next week.